Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the February 4th, 2020. Imagine that. Does anybody remember when 2000 you said, oh my God, it'll never come? And now we're in 2020, my God. All right, so first order of business is to appoint a clerk pro tem. Mary won't be here immediately tonight, so I need a motion.
I'll nominate Alan Slavin to be clerk pro tem.
Motion made by Jim, seconded by me out of necessity. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. All right, you are the clerk.
AFC.
Madam Clerk, Madam, you see, I'm still calling Madam. Mr. Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Present is the town council, town administrator, Chairman Tropiano, Mr. Manise, and Mr. Slavin.
Okay, and let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. How about Jack?
Oh, right. I'm on it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So if anybody noticed that I got shorter, it's the chair. I feel like I'm a little kid. I'm crossing my legs under here so I can sit.
I move the chair for you special.
All right. Announcements. Mr. Slavin, please.
No,
No.
No.
Jim?
No.
No. All right, we're going to vote by that. Citizens' comments. Mary Ann and Jack, come on down. Please state your names into the, and I know you're here for two different reasons, but that's okay.
Yes, we are. Good evening. Several weeks ago, he just said Mary Ann Silva.
Yeah, okay, there you go. That's good, but they got to hear you at home.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
you're gonna get in trouble, Jack.
Several weeks ago, a report was given to the Board of Selectmen regarding the clerk's position. And I just wanted to clarify that, because my name was mentioned, that my position has been and will always be, I do not support the position being appointed but remaining elected.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Jack?
Jack Silva. I'm here actually to advocate for a few friends that I have at Wareham
Healthcare.
off Indian Neck Road. There's a couple of them gentlemen who walk, and there's one who's in a wheelchair. And in the evening hours, they catch the bus, Gatra bus, to bring them back. And unfortunately, it doesn't bring them to the facility. It drops them right off at Minot, and it's very, very dangerous. There's been close calls, especially with the gentleman on the wheelchair, with vehicles passing them on the roadway. So I was wondering, I don't know what contract-wise and all, they're not looking for the bus to pick them up at the facility or to drop them right at the door of the facility. All they would like was just for them to drop them off at the entrance of the facility.
All right, well, you know
So
what?
I don't know if that could possibly be done, but it is very dangerous.
I have your man for that, and we'll put him on the job. That'll be you, Alan.
Just one question, Jack. Do they pick them up at the facility where they actually pick them up?
No, what they do, they walk from the facility, they
To
go.
the corner?
Yeah.
To Minot.
And out to Minot.
So they walk all the way down Indian
Yes.
Neck?
Minor, right?
But when they're getting dropped back,
But it's when
it's
they-
dark,
Yeah, no, I understand.
so.
Okay.
And like I said, they're not looking, for any schedule to, to go inside of the parking area or at the doorway. They just would like to be dropped off at the entrance.
Okay.
So they don't have to be on the roadway.
Gatra does have a thing where you can call and get picked up and take them back home. Because Tony Fernandez, who lives on Oak Street by us, gets picked up, because he's not mobile, and goes to the Y, and they back and forth that way too. So I'll check into it for you, but that's a possibility as well.
Okay.
They have that program.
All right. Like I say, I'm just advocating for them because it's
I appreciate it.
something that I think would be very helpful for them.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Next up,
And Patrick, happy birthday.
Yes, happy
Thank
birthday.
thank you. All right, citizens' comments. Anybody else? Come on. Oh. It's been a long time. It's been a drought for you, hasn't it? It's been a long drought.
Well,
May not be long enough.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sandy Slavin, I just want to thank Natural Resources Department. A couple weeks ago, part of mine at Forest was walking with the members of Wareham Land Trust and Wildlands Trust, mapping all the trails at Minot. And we came across a tree that was marked. Someone hatched a mark on it. We went up the trail and found a camp. I don't know who built it. There was a lean-to, there was a table, they were cutting down trees. Whether or not it was a survival camp, whether or not it was a hunting camp, I reported it to Gary and to Mr. Sullivan, and Gary has informed me that it has all been removed. And I want to thank them very much for responding quickly to whatever that was being developed within the depths of Minot Forest. I do thank you.
That was my oasis.
Yeah. And that middle chair does suck. I always switch around when I get that chair because you end up sinking. And that was it. I just wanted to thank Gary and his team.
There.
Thank
So
you. Boy,
left
that
it here
was
for me.
easy.
You left the chair here for me, actually. I moved it there.
That was an awful easy week. All right, board comments. Alan.
No, I'll save it for later on.
All right, Jim.
No,
All right, we're gonna pass that. Appointments, we have none. License and permits. Application from Trevor Watson, 144 Onset Ave, Onset, Mass., for 2 one-day liquor licenses to take place on Saturday, February 8th, 11 to 10, and Saturday, February 29th, 3 to 10.
Is that your motion?
No, you'll have to make the motion, please.
Okay, this is for Trevor S. Watson, 144 Onset Ave, Onset, Mass. The above-named organization is hereby granted a special license for the sale of all alcohol to be drunk on the premises under Chapter 138, Section 14 of the Liquor Control Act for Saturday, February 8th from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I think I have, that's the first one.
February 29th.
Yeah, I have two separate ones, though, so
That's okay.
that's the first motion.
You wanna do them individually?
Yeah.
All right, motion made by Alan, seconded by
I'll second it.
Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 300.
Okay, the second, again, Trevor S. Watson, 144 Onset Ave, Onset, Mass. The above-named organization is hereby granted a special license for the sale of all alcohol to be drunk on the premises under Chapter 138, Section 14 of the Liquor Control Act. And it'll be Saturday, February 29th at 2020 from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, motion made by Alan, seconded by
I'll second it.
Jim. Any discussion?
I just would like to ask if they could be conscious of parking on the corner of Locust Street and Onset Ave. It can be a little issue there.
Okay.
I will actually agree with Jim because I happened to go by there a couple of days ago and I noticed the car parked on the right-hand side next to it, and there really wasn't enough room for another car to get by. It is a dirt road.
Okay, so,
I thought they used the church lot.
I think they do, but it actually, when I was there, one car was parked right to the building, but it wasn't in,
Gotcha.
and
so your
it's
motion
tight.
is to approve the application for February 29th, making note of control of the parking area on Locust Ave.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
All right. And if you made the motion, he seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Can we put up like a sign or something, or does that have to be?
Well, you could put a portable sign out there if you want, to try to remind people not to park on the corner,
She asked if
It
the
was the
sign
same
was
car.
able to be put in. Bob just said, couldn't hear the question.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, the answer would be, that I think she could put a sign out there.
You could put a portable sign out front.
Yeah, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is acceptance of a donation from Wareham Free Library in the amount of $5,000. Could you mention who it is, by the way, because?
Yes, I got notification of a little
Did you get
unhappiness.
that? Yeah,
Oh,
so
yes,
Let's do the names,
yes.
if you could.
We have a donation from the Library Foundation for the amount of $5,000 donated to the Wareham Free Library for the purchase of books and materials.
Okay, motion made by Alan, seconded by
I'll second it.
Jim. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous.
Goes to Patrick directly.
All right, next up is discussion and vote of the sublease agreement. Is the coalition here?
Yes.
Okay, come on down.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Catherine Garofoli. I am the new director of the Onset Bay Center. I joined the coalition, Buzzards Bay Coalition, in early December to develop the upcoming year's programs and to ultimately take over the management of the facility once we open in June. As you're all aware, we, the coalition, Buzzards Bay Coalition, had entered into a 99-year lease with the town of Wareham for the Onset Bathhouse. As part of that agreement, the Buzzards Bay Coalition is allowed to sublease a portion of that facility for retail and educational purposes that align with our mission. The Nemasket Kayak Center has operated out of that facility now since 2013. That was the best guess from the harbor master. And previously had been a sublease lessee to the town. The Buzzards Bay Coalition would like to renew a 3-month lease with Nemasket Kayak Center to operate their rental kayak business out of the Onset Bathhouse this coming summer for the months of June, July, and August, and a little bit of September, because we're getting a late start.
Okay. Go ahead, Ellen.
Also included with that is they will be doing programs for the center as well.
That's correct. We're working with them to develop a number of evening adult programs and then the use of some of their equipment for our youth programs that will be during the day.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that out so the public understands we're not just allowing someone to run a business without giving back to the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay,
Is this a one-year contract?
It's three, yeah.
It's a 3-month sublease, and
Sublease.
it runs from
Just,
June 6th. Yep. So each year, you'll find me coming to you asking for your approval on this lease.
I'll make a motion that we approve the lease.
Sublease. Jim,
Second.
Second. Motion made by Alan, seconded by Jim. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd also like to take a minute, in the next about month or so, I'd really love to come before the board and show you what we've been working on and how we're going to be providing a lot of different programs to the general
That would
community.
be wonderful. And if you could just try to coordinate it with Cassandra in the office, please, that would be wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate all of your time.
Thank you.
thank you.
Vote on the Wareham police policy change. Chief, you want to come down?
Sure.
So this is a dress code issue.
Yes.
Change for them, and everybody has it. I'm sure you've read it.
Yep.
And I need a motion.
Motion to accept the policy as written.
Okay, motion made by Alan, seconded by
I'll second it.
Jim. Any discussion?
Jim?
I spoke with Derek earlier, and I did speak with the chief. I think as we move forward with this, it would probably be good as it alters terms and condition of, contractual bargaining, to probably incorporate it into their contracts moving forward. And also, I had spoken with Derek and again to the chief briefly about possibly incorporating a sign-off by the Director of Human Resources. I have no problem with the policy. I just think that would add to, would improve it.
Okay.
That's all.
Go ahead, Alan.
What Jim's asking for on the second part, I think is actually important. The town administrator has been doing much of our HR until recently, is that every time I go to the State House, there's more and more policies about employment and stuff that keeps coming down and changing. So it's really difficult to keep up with it. Thankfully, our Human Resources Director does a great job and keeps us all out of trouble.
Yes, I
That's the
agree.
reason for her to double check it.
She's all right, John.
She does a great job, in my opinion.
Remember, she's your assistant.
She answers the phone every time I call, so I like that.
Yep.
She's great. We're happy.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye, thank you very much.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you. And is it your birthday?
It is my birthday.
As is mine.
Is it really?
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So I thought I'd wish you a happy birthday as
You know,
well.
it's what that makes us Aquarians, right? You know that, right?
Yeah, and actually, when I was on the fire department, it was Cornita Blois, who was a firefighter, Rudy Weller,
Yeah.
Bruce Kellenowski, and Byron Eldridge.
And they
all
were
had to
All
share.
the same day?
Yeah, we all had the same
Oh,
day.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
John, when you asked me, hey Derek, should I come to the meeting, you kind of left out some pertinent information, like it's my birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
Like to
Would've
meet my
been perfect.
wife or something
Yeah.
like that.
Happy birthday, Chief.
Thank you very much, and to you. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
See you soon.
Uh,
2 aquariums.
You know, the age of Aquarius, I remember there was an age of Aquarius once when I was a kid, and oh boy, we thought we were hot ticket, because our birthday was in the, we're in the Aquarian thing. But whatever, they had songs and everything. You must remember all that. You're old enough. Come on, you're old enough. I know you are
They
down
had
the
a lot
end.
of drugs, that's
Both
what they
of you
had.
are old enough on the end. I don't know about this side. Well, you may. Can you continue discussion and
That was the
possible
fifth
vote
dimension.
See,
on articles? What?
he remembers the
That was
fifth
the fifth
dimension.
dimension, wasn't it?
Yes, it was the fifth dimension, in fact. The dawning of the age of Aquarius, remember?
Please don't sing.
No,
I
no,
think-
I was not around at that time.
No, I'm sure you weren't. You were a twinkle.
I'm not sure, I don't think it was a twinkle either.
Oh.
Alrighty then.
All right, so next is the continued discussion of possible votes on articles. Now, I believe that there are some in there for us to vote on, to add to the warrant.
Actually, we had the trash and stuff. Jim have anything for us?
Oh, Jim wants to do that first? I'm sorry, I missed it. All right, we'll do that first. Sorry, Jim.
Well, I sent all of you
Yes, you did.
a copy of what may be the final draft of the redraft. So I wanted input, and specifically sent to Derek and Attorney Bowen in order to, if you had any concerns regarding that agreement, that they want to move forward and amend and take it to town meeting.
Okay, maybe you want to explain it for the public so that they know what's going on.
Well, as Marion has moved to withdraw from the district, they've been taking action to close the 2 facilities, which would be the end of this year. I think it's December 30th of 2020. And just to have the district as a administrative arm to oversee future obligations related to, insurance, post-retirement benefits and things like that. Do I think it's in the best interest of Wareham not to have a transfer station and to do away with the district? No. But Marion and, 5 out of the 9 voters chose to vote 5-4, what was 5-4 to move this forward. Now, part of the process is, once we, being the Carver, Marion, Wareham Disposal District, approve it as a committee, it will come back to the towns, and each town has to ratify it. And if all 3 towns don't do so, then it doesn't become an effect, and we have to go back to the drawing board. So that's why I was looking for input, if you saw any concerns or issues, and if so, to send them to myself if that was possible under the open meeting law, which I specified that, and to our council and our town administrator, so that we could incorporate those comments and concerns and have our town council put it into official format and send it to the committee, because I think it would carry more weight than myself, just as a member on the committee sitting there. So that's where we stand.
Alan, you want to weigh in?
The only question I have really is, do we have to go to town meeting to ratify this?
I think so.
So we would need,
They were the approving authority originally.
so therefore, we would need to have an article probably for special town meeting,
Would have to be.
time-wise?
That's what I do,
In
put
order
out
for
a
it to happen
special.
this year, yeah.
Yeah, we've got time.
Okay. Yeah, we've been, I know I'm probably speaking for all of us, that we all on a daily basis, some people come up and ask us what's happening, they don't really understand, what it is and all the different options and stuff. And, you know, the rumors go out all over the place. So it'd be nice to get this solidified and everybody on the same page.
Well, my concern was that, you know, as you know, we're working on, and we talked about heading in, getting some advice in what direction to go on, as you well know. And we're not to the point yet where we know what direction we're gonna go in.
We don't know.
And so this is kind of rushing ahead faster than we're ready to go.
They're
if you know
closing
what
the
I'm
door
saying.
on us.
They're closing the door before we're ready to make that decision. Because, look, it may come down to that it doesn't matter to us if they close everything, because we're gonna go in another direction. If we are gonna stay going in another, and keep a transfer station or whatever it's gonna be, then that makes a difference. And that's the problem I have, is that I realize time is short, and what do we got, 11 months left? Okay, so time is short, but they're really putting it way ahead on us, you know? And what do you think, Derek?
Well, we're at the mercy of the 5-4 vote. There's
Right.
not much we can do about it.
Right.
About 2 years ago, there's started a plan, and one of the towns got really upset about it and kicked their heels, and it set everything back. And now they're the ones that are really pushing to get out of there. So it's an interesting concept, but it's a 1-8. But when that 5-4 vote happened, we're on a deadline. There's nothing we can. Well, there's, you know,
We can, I mean, if the town does not ratify and approve this agreement, it goes back.
right.
So,
But see, it might be in our interest, depending on the choices that we make, to ratify. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying, is it's cutting us off before we get a chance to make a decision. How soon do you think we'll have the information that we need, Derek? I mean, it's down the road of months yet, right?
Not really months. I think we had a good meeting with a company. I thought it was fairly productive.
wasn't a big turnaround time.
Yeah, no, so.
No,
I
so
think,
what are we talking, a couple of months?
And we also had a meeting with Carver
yeah.
to see what direction they want to go.
So we're talking
I think once, with the engagement stuff, yeah, I would say a month to 6 weeks is the most.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so we're closer, so I guess it really doesn't matter then.
And
To get their, you know, the feedback on it, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we gotta make a decision, right?
Well, we'll just have to make a decision quicker than we
And
expected, but.
Well, we're kind of making tentative plans on possible ways to set up a fund and to put monies into it utilizing possible sticker receipts. And maybe, I don't know, I've spoken with Derek about a little bit, some of the monies that we get for the tonnage. I know it's going to be a loss of revenue for the town once this present system goes away of a few hundred to $300,000 to $400,000 a year between sticker and tonnage receipts from the haulers. And so we're making strides. Is it imperative we pass at this town meeting? Myself, I don't think so. But you know, other people, the sky's falling. I'm not as impacted by it myself.
How much money is in the fund now?
Which
that
fund?
belongs to the three towns? There's gotta be money in the fund.
188 to the town of Wareham. I can't remember. $63,299. They get it there?
You gotta allow 'em.
Total, right?
Yeah, and so is in the agreement, and I don't know, I didn't read the whole thing, I just scanned it, is there a thing about dispersing those funds?
It's good. Yeah, Derek.
It's assets.
Well, you can. It's just kind of, they kind of flip-flop back and forth on how you can and you can't do it. It's, that attorney trickery.
What does
Go ahead,
counsel
Mr.
think?
Ball.
Well, I have several thoughts.
Okay.
Number one, is it in proper legal form? Sure. Do you want to do it? Well, that's a policy question. My thought is just get the best deal you can out of it. You've probably put in the most amount of money into it over the years, so, you know, like there's a provision in here about surplus equipment. You know, language about getting commonly accepted appraisal values, but if one town really wants it, there's a special mechanism. You know, I don't know, I'd kind of like to look this over with some of the money people, just to make sure we're not double paying on some of these things.
Well, they bought a brand-new backhoe just last year. I mean, the thing is, and it barely gets used, so it's brand spanking new. I know that they have a tractor.
One of the towns really like to use it.
Huh?
One of the towns really like to use it.
Really? And there's a tractor, you know, for pulling the trailers back and forth to the thing out of Marion. And of course, there's the compactors on the other side. I mean, all that stuff is part of the district.
That's correct. It all belongs to the district. And we've had an appraisal on the property in Rochester, and we've had an appraisal on the equipment. We're gonna get a second on both of them. Some of the members didn't really like the appraisal on the real estate. I don't think it reached the levels that they were hoping to see. But, yeah, you can say, you know, it's worth X amount, but if you can't sell it, it's not worth what you'd like it to be worth. And,
It's worth what somebody's willing to
They
pay.
pay for it.
Yeah.
That's a real estate 101.
Mr. Chairman, this is a divorce,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
this is, and it has to be viewed in that light.
So it should be it's gonna be contentious, obviously.
Yes, well, it could be. I've been involved in the dissolution of districts in the past, and where it gets contentious is when everybody starts counting out the dollar bills. The rest of it,
We've moved through some formats. There was an idea that the disbursements of funds would be handled one way, which would have worked out well for the smaller communities, and then the assessments in the future would have been handled another, which would have worked out poorly for larger communities. And I think we nipped that in the bud right away.
Okay.
That didn't make sense to us. So as you're going to assess is how you will give back. Yeah, that's, yeah.
So let me see. So, you know, being one who was involved in a divorce, the contentious is, you know. All right, so at any rate, so the point here is that this is developing. It's still developing, right? You must say, right?
correct.
And so there's really not a lot of input that we can give you other than, you know.
I was looking for input on your thoughts and or concerns of the agreement as written, and how you felt about it. They don't address any of the initial funds that were put up back in '73 by the towns. And there is mention of that from our town meeting records. And so, you know, I think as capital operation, I believe it was called back then, it was a equalized valuation. It would have been, I believe, an equalized valuation charge to each town. So it could be, you know, and nobody seemed to have found those numbers specifically beyond that our town meeting approved, I forget the number, was it 300 and something thousand, 200 and something thousand?
It was I thought it was 300
And-
plus on it.
but it was-
didn't break it down in our town
Correct.
meeting.
I'm guessing they can't find the money either.
Well, I don't know how far we've looked or
Be my guess.
in our town records, you know, and I don't know if we have records showing disbursements at that point in time. That's where you'd find it, right? You approve it, but it doesn't become really effective until there's been a disbursement and you have that to show. What's it worth? I mean, is someone willing to take a little time to look for that? I mean, I don't have the records at hand.
Well, for me, I agree with council that you need to try to get the best deal you can get, obviously. And secondly, I think the time frame, if you could slow it down until we had all the facts in our hands, that would be great too, before we finally brought this to town meeting, you know?
I have no problems with it.
We have a little time.
Go ahead, Alan.
The other piece is that next week is Boston Tuesday for me, and the trash and recycling is one of the major topics going forward. The state has several different possible programs, bills, etc. So I will try and bring back on Tuesday night next week some information where the state's going on this, as far as funding, etc. There is monies that they're going to allocate. I just don't know how it's going to work yet. I'm hoping to have some answers next Tuesday.
The only question is where are they going to take the money from to allocate it to this?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Selectman Muniz and I have been conversing about this on Thursdays for a little while, so I've been privileged to get some insight into this, but I can't say I know to what extent this has already happened. Maybe it's already there, but maybe just having an accounting specialist take a look at what our contribution into this body has been since its beginning. It would just be interesting to know what that was relative to the other members. Just to make sure that, if we paid the bulk of the cash going into this, I'm sure our equalized valuation in, 1970? 73 was pretty high relative to other members.
We're the biggest users.
And keep in mind that the equalized valuation changes over time. Our neighbor Carver, that's a lovely town. It's historically been primarily agricultural. And over the years since 1973, it's developed quite a bit. So the equalized valuation today relative to Wareham could be quite a bit different from what it was in 1973. So I just want to make sure that we weren't, because of haste, sense of haste being applied by others, that we somehow weren't missing out on factors that might be a little more equitable.
Okay. All right, so that's my opinion. What do you want anything you want to tell them, Alan?
No, I think we just bring it up again next week and see where we're at.
I'm going to keep it on.
We'll keep it on and make sure that we don't run out of time.
This is going to stay on right through December 30th unless we come up with a plan.
Yeah, we just have to decide whether we want to
Because-
have like a special town meeting article or not.
Okay.
Because if not, we might have to call for a special town meeting between the spring and fall one.
All right.
Okay.
All right, next up is continuing discussion of possible articles for
Okay.
towns to be placed on the 2020 town
Yeah,
meeting.
first one I have is from the Community Preservation
You
Committee.
want to come down? Would the Community Preservation Committee want to come down?
I'll read the warrant article as it is.
Thank you.
To see if the town will vote to reserve for future appropriation from the Community Preservation Fund's fiscal year 2021 estimated annual revenues for the following amounts. 1, $50,000 for administrative expenses. 2, $100,000 to open space reserves. 3, $100,000 to historical preservation reserves. And 4, $100,000 to affordable housing reserves, or to do or act in any manner thereto. This is a standard piece that they have to
Yeah,
do.
they do it every year. Do you want to explain it, though, for the people at home?
What we've done is that last year we estimated a combination of $1 million coming in from the town assessment interest and the state match funds. And so we're just using the same $1 million again, maybe slightly difference in the three categories, but we're looking at another $1 million of income. And this past year, a couple weeks ago, we didn't expect an extra $20 million kicked into the CPA funds, which changed the contribution from $147,000 and added an additional $107,000 from the state. I just don't expect that to happen again, which is why I'm keeping the estimate at $1 million.
Okay. And that's the requirement, the reserve, right?
Yes. Now, if we find that when we make the adjustment for whatever came in from the town or interest, and we are substantially under the $1 million estimated, there will be an article in the fall town meeting to make an adjustment to put more of the 10% aside, we have to do a minimum of 10.
Okay.
So, but
right.
right now, we're just a couple $1,000s, but we don't have this town interest yet, so I'm not going to make another adjustment. So we're just asking, this is a standard must set aside reserve of $350,000 is the total.
All right, thank you.
Motion to include in the warrant.
Motion made by Alan, seconded by
Second.
Jim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's
Thank you.
unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I have left here, it looks like from the planning board. I thought I had a few more here, but we
You
don't.
should, she didn't put the ones in from Natural Resources?
All I have here is, no, I just went
This
through.
just came today,
No,
yesterday.
but we would have put them in because it's an ongoing article. It stays in here until town meeting, so
Yeah.
we can add
And
them
we also
anytime.
had, we also had a citizens petition article, which,
Well, we don't vote on those anyway.
no, but I was going to make some comments on it to try and
Well,
help
we
them
can
out.
do that if you like. You can make comments on them anytime. I was a little
All right, I'll do it
upset
after we
by
do
it
this one.
myself, but, okay.
Okay, what I have next is, again, from the planning board through the Director for Planning and Economic Development. These are all basically fixes for the sign bylaw due
Okay,
to the federal government rules and a few other things.
all right, yep.
The
go ahead.
first one is to see if the town will vote to amend Wareham zoning bylaws, Article 11, signs, as follows. And let's see what we got here. Last year, the Attorney General rejected a proposed zoning bylaw amendment to the sign regulations, noting that signs bylaws were not in conformance with the U.S. Supreme Court decision of Reed versus Town of Gilbert from 2015, which substantially changed the way signs had to be regulated by zoning. This article amends sign bylaws to a compliant form and content. The first one, and that's what they have there. And I'm going to read these all. I think we can pass these all at one time because it's really,
go ahead, yeah.
it's not as clear as it should be. Next one is definition of a two-family or duplex dwelling. Article to see if town meeting will vote to amend Wareham zoning bylaws, Article 3, section as follows. Says see attachment. Unfortunately, the attachment has a little W.
Yeah. It's not,
So it's kind of,
it's a link.
I know.
so is there anything
Push
behind
the
that,
link,
or-
Alan. Doesn't work
Let me-
out in the open?
Let me give the explanation as best I can. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The current definition of a duplex dwelling does not provide enough specificity to ensure conformance of construction with common expectations. This clarifies desired design elements of multifamily units. This is just upgrading and fixing anything with the sign stuff. You have a problem, Jim? It's
Go ahead,
okay.
Jim.
Well, I think might be best for, to move this till next week. I don't think it would make a big difference in,
Doesn't matter.
I mean, I've looked at them all. I think I had an issue with one of the further ones down. And
We have
is
the,
it run into road commissioners? Does it talk about the,
no, the road commissioners would be
That's-
coming from the
no,
charter.
the signage, in the signage one, there's something in the signage one where they're moving the, which, you know, might be fine, the responsibility of approving the signage to the town administrator and taking it would be no longer the selectmen.
I don't see that here.
I
And I
didn't
hadn't
see
read
that.
into that. So,
I didn't see that.
Would you like to move it to
Oh,
next
it's a
week?
lot- it's a lot of
I wouldn't be in favor of that anyway.
you would or wouldn't?
Wouldn't. I wouldn't be in favor of it. Town administrators has enough to do without worrying about, where the signs are gonna go.
So I just, I just think it would
Not
be
that we don't
nice
have
to,
stuff to do, but I think we can handle it. I think we've handled it well, and I don't think there's really any issues, so.
What's your pleasure?
We'll wait till next week on those.
Okay, yeah. I'd like to say,
And that way, I'll get them all, I'll make sure all the other sheets are in there. You can't just leave it there with a link,
yeah, I have a little problem trying to figure out what the little W
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
says.
yeah. We'll get it straightened out. We're working hard at it. That was it, right?
Okay, that's
Right.
it.
Any other business not reasonably anticipated?
No.
24 hours, anybody? No. All right, that means we move on to the town administrator's report, please.
Mr. Chairman, we are missing 2 members tonight, so I didn't know if you'd want to wait for the budget presentation, just the slideshow until next week.
Next
I am
week.
doing it.
Yeah,
I am doing
let's
it for
do it
the-
next week.
Yeah,
If
I'm
that's
doing
what
it
you
for the-
have, yeah, let's do it next week.
I'm doing it for the finance committee tomorrow,
It's all right.
obviously.
That's all right.
But-
We'll get it late, but that's fine.
And Bernie asked me for electronic copy, and he'll get it about 2 minutes before the meeting, so that works out well, right?
Yeah, 2 minutes?
It used to be 1. I'm getting better. So.
2 minutes? You're being nice to her.
There's something that we really need to go over with the school building for the next $28 million borrowing. The rates are extremely favorable, and I'm talking to the finance director, Mr. Foster. We need to get that taken care of, and I'd like to see if we can all work together to move that forward, because when I'm talking favorable, the ones that came in for another community were about half our estimate, which could be a huge savings to the
So we may wanna
taxpayers.
borrow the money early.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so,
fine. Absolutely.
okay.
All right, let's-
I'll talk to him, I'll see what we
Anything
need
that
to
saves
do.
us money, we do, right?
Yep, I'll see what we need to get it going, okay?
Okay, yep.
All right, so, other than that, I had a really great presentation you'll see next week.
All right, so let me give Alan his shot at the.
Just one thing, Mr. Buckland is here from planning. Ken, do you have the actual motions for the different things in the sign bylaw? Unfortunately, what we have printed out just says see attachment. And obviously, I can't read an
Yeah.
attachment.
Come on down. No, just so you know, there's a big fire here, and we just threw you in it.
And the other, that's his discretion.
I'll show you what the problem is. It says article, but it says insert attachment.
And somebody inserted an image instead of an attachment.
Yeah, I'm good at things, but I'm not that good.
That's understandable.
Do you have the actual motions for
Do
each
you
one?
have the articles?
These are the articles here.
Okay,
Oh, okay,
let
great.
me see if we can do it, if
All right,
possible.
we're gonna go back. We'll go back up to the articles and see if we can get these done. And since there's an explanation here, that would be great. That'll help Jim, too, as well, so you'll have the explanation.
Well, it's just, I read them.
There are three articles, 3 zoning articles that the planning board has recommended.
All right,
For town meeting
why don't you
action.
just go ahead and tell us about them?
Well, the sign bylaw was a recommendation of the Attorney General. At last year's town meeting, we submitted an article to change the zoning bylaw for signs in a couple of different sections. The Attorney General noticed that our bylaw was out of line with the Supreme Court decision of Reed versus the town of Gilbert, Arizona, that said you can't have content, you can't regulate the content of signs, only the size and form of the sign.
Okay.
So we had to one option was to go through and scrub the whole zoning bylaw section and rework it. The other was to choose a zoning bylaw that has been approved by the Attorney General in other towns. And that's what I chose. The second option was to take a zoning bylaw that's been approved by the Attorney General, the State Attorney General, and made the most sense
Okay,
for a town meeting.
all right. You want to read it? You want to?
It's, what it is actually is a full sign bylaw rewritten with, so in order to do it, it's not gonna make any sense to anybody, because there's just areas all through it that have little changes.
All right, so what do you want to do? What's your pleasure?
Well, I think what we'll do is I would ask that it be included in the warrant, and hopefully we'll have a better presentation when it actually comes to vote.
Well,
Because
we
if
could-
we give this to the public to read like this, they won't understand it.
Well, we could have somebody in and give a full presentation of where all the changes are and stuff like that, if you wouldn't mind at some point.
I'd be absolutely happy to do
We'll
that.
we'll include it now, I hope, with a vote, and then at somewhere down the line, we'll have you in when we usually do anyway. Somebody comes in and kind of gives us the whole story, so then you can maybe one of
Do the
these little-
slideshow, yeah, PowerPoint, love it.
Little, show and tell.
There you go.
All right, so go ahead.
Make a motion to include the first section, which is Article 11, the changes in the sign bylaw for the warrant.
All right, motion made by Alan, seconded by
I'll second that.
Jim. Any discussion?
Was within that part of the sign bylaw, was that where the change was from the approval process going to the town administrator from the selectmen, or was that in the third?
I don't quite understand the process you described.
Well, with the approval, I believe it was in the bylaw, where the approving body for signage of certain things, and I thought when I was reading that,
Well, that, you see, the signs we approve are signs on town property, and that wouldn't be in the
so
bylaw.
that wouldn't be in your bylaw. Maybe it was from Judy's Whiteside.
That's a policy.
Might have been Judy Whiteside.
That's a board policy.
That's a
if
board
it's
policy.
It might have been Judy, I apologize then.
Yeah, I think it was for the, oh, if it was them, that one actually makes more sense because it says,
Because it struck everything.
right, because it said, town
I
administrator
apologize, yeah.
does, you know, controls the facilities and does all that stuff. And then some people have to go to me if it's certain things, some people have to.
No,
go
it
to
is, it
select-
was, and I apologize for that confusion on my part.
Well, but we don't need to give you any stupid work.
No.
No.
I like smart work.
It's good for us,
Okay.
you know.
For
We
the-
have plenty of time to do those kinds of things.
For the-
I'm good.
For the next one, it's really short. I think I can do this for him.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 300. Okay, go ahead.
The next one is section 340-4, two-family dwellings. The changes are, it says a building containing two dwelling units, and the change is sharing a common demissing wall. Ken, do you want to explain what a demissing wall is? for the public?
Demising wall is a wall that's shared by the spaces
Right.
on each side of it.
Between the walls.
Okay, and constructed on a single lot, also known as a duplex. The next change is 3 to 4 family dwelling, a dwelling containing at least 3 but no more than 4 separate unit dwelling units. The addition is each unit sharing a common demissing wall with adjacent units. The third one is 5 or more family dwellings, a dwelling containing 5 or more separate family dwelling units, each unit containing a minimum of 650 square feet of livable floor space, exclusive of closets and bathrooms. And the change there again is adding each unit sharing a common demising wall with adjacent units. I'll make
Okay.
a motion that we include that in the warrant.
Motion made by Alan, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Great, thank you.
And the last one is something that we have to do anyway. This is a flood plan overlay district. It picks in all the changes that were made effective as July 22nd, 2020. I'll make a motion that we include that in the warrant.
Okay. Motion made by Alan, seconded by Jim.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I would like to know why we're striking section 421-1.
The reason was because the Eric Carlson, the state's floodplain manager, said that it was in conflict with state building code, and so had to remove it.
Does it supersede it if we have a more stringent regulation? Or are you saying it's illegal for us to have that? I thought towns could have more strict regulation, but not less.
I'd have to turn to town council as to whether or not it actually applies in this case. But it's
That
in
has to do-
conflict with the, I was informed it's in conflict with the state building code.
In
You got
this,
that, Rich?
Was it a Goodyear or a Uniroyal?
We just threw you in the fire with,
Yeah, I noticed that. Well, I had my asbestos suit on, so here's the answer. That in some circumstances, you can have bylaws or regulations that are stricter than the state standard, but that's not true in every case. There are certain situations where state law or a state regulation does what's known as preempts the field, and so it excludes certain types of local regulation where the state has already fully regulated it. And I believe with respect to this type of building code issue, it would be the position of the state that it had preempted the field and that we wouldn't be allowed to further regulate in that area.
One of the tenets of the law is that the state building code supersedes anything in zoning. So that for public health and safety, the code applies, and even if it is in conflict with the zoning.
Do we know what the building code says in relation to this? I guess it wouldn't matter anyhow. This basically, if I remember, you had to build over in the velocity zones at a certain elevation. And that's striking it from here, but is that incorporated within the state building code?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, they changed everything. It's
And again, this is also just,
crazier and crazier all the time.
yeah, just for public information, this is also issued by a Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is FEMA. So actually, it's a federal regulation that goes down to the state, which then goes down to us. So basically, I don't think we have the ability to overrule, make it even more strict, but the federal rules are.
Section though, isn't it?
No, it's actually the whole area, and it's in here too. It mentions federal all the way through.
I think I should point out that one of the key changes in this time around are all the properties that where somebody has come in and got a certification that they are outside of the floodplain, and so not affected by the flood regulations.
Yep.
Yeah,
To
but it went
maintain-
from 15 to what, 17.1 or 17.3 feet?
They didn't change the height of the flood in this instance.
Well,
All
yeah,
they did was take out
But it was
properties.
15 feet here, and now it's 17.
It did change in the past,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's considerable difference. And we have people that now have their houses back in the floodplain in a velocity zone that weren't. I mean, they're already up 15
Yeah,
feet.
the ones on the stilts, and that's a real shame. They put
That's
a
a shame,
fortune
because
into that.
they spent all that money to put it up in the air, and then they turned around and changed the map. And now all those people down on Swiss Beach and different odd places where they've gone up in the air and spent the money to do it are now all back in the floodplain. And worse than that, Swiss Beach is a velocity zone, so they're in the velocity zone
Well,
beside.
that's why they're up on stilts down there.
Yeah, exactly.
But not high enough on stilts under
But
the
now
new
they're not
reg-
high enough. They
They're
were
there.
high enough, but
They're
now
there.
they're not high enough. So all of those people that weren't paying flood insurance because they were high enough and they had the bases done are all now having to pay flood insurance in a velocity zone.
Thank
If
you
you
to
dig
FEMA.
down.
Thank you to, and that's thank you to FEMA, and let's call it what it is. It isn't that they have any sense of reality of this, because they don't. What they did is they redesigned the maps because they wanted to take all the money that they spent in Katrina and all those places down there and help out the insurance companies and spread it out over the rest of the country. And let's call it what it is, okay? And what they did is they went back to the drawing board and said, oh, yeah, we can make an argument for this, we can make an argument for that. And what they did was hurt the people and only the people on the water. So the people who are away from the water, they don't care much, right? They don't care. They sit back there and they say, it's a select few. It's only the people that are on the water that
Well,
get affected. And it's a shame.
Yeah, they're affected by the wind insurance.
Yes.
If you're within so many miles of the coast. I mean, we got whacked on that from the hurricanes in Florida.
Well, one of the things that I think that we can do as a town is join the community rating system. This is a program by the National Flood Insurance Program where we can start to reduce the insurance premiums for people in the floodplain.
Anything we
as-
can do to help those people, we should do.
Good.
Right, and that's what I think we should start on this program and start to develop the.
I don't, if it's a good program and it works, and I have faith that you have looked into it, I'm okay with it. Because these people if you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a problem because you just don't insure it. Right, you take a chance. You say, okay, once every 25 or 30 years, I'm going to have to work on my house. You put some money aside, bingo, you're all set. But if you have a mortgage, you have to have the insurance. And some of it is stifling how much you put aside. More than the house is worth in 10 years or 15 years. You know what I'm saying? So remember, the lot never goes away.
Right.
Lot's still going to be there.
Maybe.
Might have a different shape, but it's still going to be there.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You're going to bring that forward, Ken?
Yes.
That would be nice if you did.
Yeah, would you like to take a role in that?
Sure we will. Patrick, you want to put that on the agenda when Ken said he's
I'll
ready?
put it on the agenda. I'll get you on the agenda with that, and we'll talk about it, okay?
Okay.
Maybe you can get copies to us, we can all get a chance to review it, and then we can talk about it.
I'll get a slideshow too.
I love that. Anything we can do to help these folks, in
Oh,
my
yeah.
opinion, we need to do,
Yeah,
because
and I
it's
think
really
this,
sad.
I think this is the program that can make that happen.
It's very sad what we've done to people. I mean, we spent, these people come in, their houses got blown away, and then we turn around and said, well, you're gonna have to put that up in the air. And, you know, it's gonna cost you a lot of money, but you gotta have certain footings, the whole thing. You're gonna put it up nice in the air. And they say, okay, well, all right, we'll bite the bullet, we'll put it up in the air. And then you turn around and say, well, you remember we told you to put it up in the air? And you spent all that money? Well, you should have put it another 2.5 feet in the air.
It doesn't
It's just god-awful.
happen.
Could you just, who puts together the firm map?
FEMA, you mean?
FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management
They
Agency,
put that together?
yeah, they do. They're responsible for the creation of that map.
Thank you.
The flood insurance rate maps, or firms, as they're called.
I just,
And you can get them online, by the
the
way.
name of insurance in there, you know, I was just wondering who put
Yeah,
it together.
that's right.
You can
What do
see them
think it's in
online.
there for? Exactly.
This all goes back to the Waters Bigot bill that was passed. And of course, we can thank the state of California for this whole mess, because that was the lead person who put this all through with no idea what the effect would be and what the damage would be.
Absolutely, they did. And the thing is, you know, is that, okay, so they changed all the maps. If they had charged the areas down there for what the damage was and spread out the new rates down there, it would have cost them people a fortune. So they said, you know what, we know how to do that, we'll just spread it out across the whole country and let everybody pay, right? I don't know about you, but I remember insurance companies took a risk, and they used risk assessment, they came up with numbers, and sometimes they won, sometimes they lost, right?
They never
Is
lose.
that right? So they don't
Never
lose.
lose.
They
They
don't lose
never
anymore.
lose.
They don't lose anymore.
Right, because we go in and cover them. Too big to fail. Too big to fail. Yeah, we go, that's what happens. You know, if somebody, if you're a singer and you have a voice and you go to Lloyd's of London and you say to Lloyd's of London, I want you to insure my voice, right? And you lose your voice, and some have, by the way. I happen to think of the girl that was in Mary Poppins there, who lost her singing voice, right? So she gets paid off for whatever her singing, whatever she had for insurance, right? And then everything's great, right? They lose the money. They don't turn around and say, okay, everybody else who's got whatever, we're gonna do whatever, you know? They've risk assessed it, they've planned accordingly, you know? But in this case, it doesn't work that way. They say to the federal government, well, you know, we got a problem, you know, we're gonna have to spread this out to somebody. And the feds say, okay, we know how to take care of you, we're gonna redesign the FEMA maps, and we're gonna fix it for you. Nice. No, I'm not blaming you, by the way.
I don't know if that was the actual way that it actually came about either.
This isn't for you. I mean, this is just frustration for people. I mean, you know, Water Street down there, East Water Street, can you imagine what those people have to pay now for insurance? I can tell you it's extremely high, crazy high, because of the new requirements. It's just crazy. But, you know, unfortunately, that creates a problem for us because it devalues our waterfront property because people, not a lot of people can afford to buy it and pay the insurance.
Yeah, cash buyers.
Yeah, only cash buyers. And that's the only way you can get them. All right, anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. We'll get you in twice now. We got 2 show and tells coming up for you.
Sounds good.
Thank you so
We
much.
need to vote on that.
Oh, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
See you soon.
Right.
Getting my
All right.
reading screwed up.
Did you want to go back to talk about the petition article?
Yeah,
right, you're on.
I may or may not be speaking out of turn. Normally, when we have a citizens petition article, we do not, comment on it because it just automatically gets put in. But I think we have a responsibility that if we see an article that we may have some questions on, at least we should have the courtesy to let the citizen petition article know that may or may not be an issue. The article has to do with the naming of the school, which I had mentioned, I think, in a newspaper article. I expected to come back as a citizen's petition article possibly for the fall or the spring. The article was submitted. We don't physically have it here, but we did receive it in our
Yes,
packet.
it's in the office.
And it's in the office. And I have questions about the wording of the actual motion and also the signatures and stuff, and I've asked town council. And I'm not going to get into it. I'm just making a friendly recommendation that maybe they relook at it and resubmit it with some corrections, but that's up to them. I'd rather
'Cause
not
I
have the
think we've always
moderator.
had the policy, we've been hands-off on those.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm just giving them the courtesy, letting them know
Yeah,
that,
well,
I think there's an issue.
It's sort of hands-off, so.
Yeah, it's their
All right.
call, it's not us.
Anybody else?
And not to reflect on this particular citizens petition, but earlier, when we were talking, it's, it shouldn't be that, we should be helpful when citizens come up and want to do a petition because they're inexperienced at it. And so I think if someone sees an issue with it, it's to their benefit to bring it up and to let them know a possible issue and that it wouldn't pass the muster and maybe they should make some minor changes in order to make it a viable instrument to be presented at the town meeting and not just to be denied. I don't know. I just think it would be the nice thing to do, whether you're in favor of or against a particular article.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think that if you want to put a citizens petition together, you do it. For the most cases, most of the time when they're putting citizens petitions is because they're going around either us or trying to evade something, and that's why they do it. And one of the things that bothers the heck out of me is when our own boards take people and try to go around what we've decided. And, we're here for a reason. I think we get elected in order to make these decisions. That's why they hire us. We have the big pants, and we're supposed to make the big decisions. And it gets pretty bad when only 10 people can go around us. 10 people can go around us. That's absurd. It should be, hundreds of people coming together to say it's worth that while that you can do that. And I think 10 is ridiculous. It should be a real coalition coming together saying, yeah, okay, you guys are wrong, and this is what we want to do, not just 10 people. Because you could get 10 people to sign saying anything you want.
Right, but that's what's allowed now.
And it's always been a policy that we don't help them, we don't do anything. It's up to them to make their own motions, their own stuff, and it's always been that way. And I happen to agree with it.
I don't know, it's not like against the law to assist them, is it? I mean, is it, can I through you to?
It's not against
counsel?
the law,
Oh, okay.
really. I mean,
No, that's what, and I just think, people come up and some of them are great ideas, but they need a little help. I mean, we don't always come up with every thought that, would be a benefit to the community, and sometimes people do have, initiative petitions which are of value and merit. And, I just, that's all, it's just an opinion, and it's not right or wrong.
I get
It's
your
just-
opinion. The nice thing about this is we're all able to have differences of opinions. And contrary to Washington, when we leave the room, we'll still be talking.
We still talk before we leave the room.
We'll still be talking. We'll be joking and having some fun anyway, even after we leave the room, so, which is nice. So, a matter of fact, I told you I wanted to send the tape of one of our meetings one time to Washington so they can have, because obviously they don't have a model to follow, so maybe they should see one of our meetings.
Send it to some other towns, too.
Maybe it'll give them an idea of how to do it.
Could be scary.
All right, next up is the liaison reports. Alan, please.
Okay, I'll try and make this quick. I only have one real thing. No.
Since when?
It's not a lot going on lately. There's a marijuana bill that seeks to weaken the local authority in the negotiation of host community agreements. House will debate bill to regulate HCA's on Wednesday, February 5th, tomorrow, of course. I just got notification this afternoon late. Please call your representative and senators now to urge them to vote against the bill. Tomorrow, the House plans on taking up Bill H4367, an act relative to host community agreements, which would give the Cannabis Control Commission exclusive power to review, regulate, and enforce all host agreements negotiated between marijuana establishments and municipalities. This bill will also limit a municipality's ability to negotiate monetary or other considerations outside of the 3% community impact fee, going so far as to state that any other contractual financial obligation shall not be enforceable. This would usurp longstanding municipal authority to contract on behalf of the public interest and potentially preempts those host agreements that are already executed in good faith. As of January 16th, there are 437, I'll repeat the numbers, 437 pending licenses before the Cannabis Control Commission review, and 258 licenses in the approval stage, meaning close to 700 fully executed host agreements could be on the line if this bill passes. So we have our one, retail, and we have, which is retail and medical. So just so everybody understands, there's 700 more operations that are lined up to come into the state of Massachusetts this year. So whatever anybody thinks we're getting for revenue, be prepared for some drastic changes.
Let me ask you, does it say anywhere in there that the state money gets to be taken away too?
Of course not.
Oh, okay, I'm just checking.
No, that doesn't happen that way. So it says, state set regulations or host community agreements that takes away municipal authority to negotiate freely cannot be accepted. There are 351 cities and towns with diverse needs and approaches to policy implementation, reflecting the expectations of the citizens of their community. New marijuana businesses should be expected to engage with the community and become good corporate citizens, a process encouraged by host community agreements. The marijuana industry's public relations and lobbying campaigns are seeking to diminish and weaken the municipal role in the permitting and licensing process. So just want to give everybody a heads up, that's...
Just for the sake of it, I want to mention one thing. We haven't held up a single marijuana place.
No.
Our agreements were in place like this. All of the places that are stated to come here, we've had the agreements in place for months and months in most cases, and haven't held up anything. Nothing. We haven't done anything. The state's held them, the Cannabis Control Commission has held them all up, not us. And now they want to take and give more power to the Cannabis Control Commission? Sounds like a winning thing to me.
Interestingly enough, we were always told from day one, you can only charge the 3% impact and you cannot do anything above it.
Right.
So we did follow the guidelines, other communities did not, and said specifically where they had to give money, and that's a concern for corruption, et cetera.
Right.
Which I believe if we were they should be held to the same standard that we were. It's only 3% is the max you're allowed. You cannot dictate where they're putting other monies. We'd love for them to be part of the community, engaged, but we were told specifically you could not do that. But my concern is when you read that, it's the lobby, and it's the first step in getting rid of that host community agreement of the 3% impact, and it's exactly what we've been talking about.
Yep.
So.
What I've done, just so everybody understands, at the MMA convention last week, I met with the town manager from Brookline and also the mayor of Northampton, and we're going to sit down and work together. We're going to propose, if we can get it through the MMA to the State House, that the 3% we get for tax and the 3% host agreement be rolled into a straight 6%, period.
Right.
And I don't know if I can make this happen, but we're going to try.
Go ahead, Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've actually been tracking some of this in some of the cannabis company trade publications, and I'm not talking about High Times here or something like that, just for the wise guys who might think that.
Weed Weekly?
No, or Weed Weekly. No. Is there such a thing, Derek?
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I'll take your word for it. But, in any event, this is very much an industry lobbying effort. The industry, like all industry, wants to make more money than it's making. Some communities have definitely gone beyond what they were allowed to do. I think you can all be proud that this is not one of them.
Illegal, though.
Well, it is illegal.
Go after them.
And that's presumably what will come out of all those grand jury subpoenas that issued to numerous communities, which we were very happy to comply with speedily without need for extension, unlike many other communities.
This is one of the few communities where it wasn't a Malox moment.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, you had all kinds of communities, some on the Cape that I won't mention, but you could probably figure it out, that had to seek all kinds of extensions to respond. Why, I don't know. It's all pretty straightforward. But the industry isn't willing to buck the Cannabis Control Commission price regulations, which I guess are denying them a profitability, according to what I read in the trade publications. So instead, they view us as the soft target, and they're going to go after us.
Well, I hope we make some phone calls tonight, or at least, put something out there online.
Well, it's basically, if you want to call Mrs. Gifford and Derek do the same thing, it will definitely help.
Yeah, we need to send that in right away. Can you jump on that, Derek?
Yeah, I apologize, but again, I just got notified at about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
I bet you that's one they didn't want you to know about too soon, anyway.
No, because it came from the MMA, it didn't come from the State House.
Yeah. All right, are you all set?
I'm good for the day.
Really? Wow. Are you kidding?
It's a week.
No, this is a week.
It's a week.
What do you have?
That is your birthday present.
Thank you.
Don't expect it again.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Let's see, we have a meeting next week with the CMW to vote on this document, so if you have any concerns, get them into our attorney, Mr. Attorney Bowen, and into Derek, and maybe we can discuss that, so we can get a letter over to the CMW board, and that's, I believe, on the 12th that we'll be meeting. So we still have another night, would be meeting beforehand, but it better be prepared than not. When you're just talking about the tax, the impact fee, which is 3% over the already 3%, it's brand new source of revenue. So if you set it up for that, it's a pass-through cost. So if you set it up for that, it's not affecting really the establishment owner. It's a pass-through. And if people just accept that that's the cost, it's $6 on 100, that's what it is. And, it would help with law enforcement and schools and educational programs. And I believe there's a warrant to it.
Let me tell you something. If it goes away, they will not be reducing the product price.
Definitely not.
I don't think so.
Oh, you can bet on that. You can bet on it. They've got the price now, and it's working for them. So, it's not like sales are being reduced. I mean, sales have been pretty brisk everywhere you go.
Hasn't stamped out the black market.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, it hasn't.
No, it hasn't.
But the thing is that it's the younger people who will go to the black market, and the regular people that you see down there that are, in their upper 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and
60s and 70s.
are, going to there because it's legal and they want to do it legal,
Their dealer's retired.
So, and by the way, the market price on the black market is cheaper.
Always has been.
Oh, by a lot.
By
Or
a
so
bit.
I read. Getting it out there.
I'm getting worried about you, Rich.
Yeah,
Hey, don't write that down. Council's giving out marijuana.
Actually,
okay, I'm sorry, I don't usually go off on a policy riff here, but if the idea behind this whole thing was to control the market, make sure that the stuff got into the hands of people who are of a certain age, and it was going to be all controllable, how good is the system when you've got price controls put in place that sends all the people you don't want to be using the stuff to the black market, and you don't stomp out the black market?
I know. It
Fail. Sorry. I don't often give you my opinion.
Well,
Thank you very
true.
much.
But, you're right, it doesn't make any sense at all to do that, but they did, and they seem okay with it, so.
it's all money.
What do you think?
Go ahead, Alan.
Just as a comment, because the supply, because the way the state is controlling, the growers with a slow licensing and everything else, there's a lack of supply. So the actual retail facilities and the medical facilities have all raised their prices over the last 6 months.
Oh, have they really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, they're making tons of money, that's
They're
for sure.
making lots of money.
All right, anybody else? Good. All right, that leaves us one alternative, and that's to talk about minutes.
Okay, we have 2 minutes here. Unfortunately, the minutes for December 17th will have to roll over to next week. I wasn't there, which means we only have 2 members
Okay,
that can
that's
vote.
fine, yeah.
So,
Do December 10th?
no, December 17th. So for December 10th, all 5 selectmen were present. Make a motion to accept the minutes of December 10th, 2019.
Motion made by Alan.
Second.
Seconded by Jim. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Cassandra, please put the 17th back on for next week. All right, next up is that thing that you guys love the most.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Second.
You're not recognized. Alan, motion to adjourn, seconded by Jim.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Thank you, Wareham. You have a great week. We'll see you next week. We do have an exec section next week.
Good.